Alrighty. Let's see. Alright, guys. I'm going to get into it and then I'm going to get out of it because it is already pretty late. It's about an hour after when I wanted to start this project. But I have done a lot of work on my workshop lately and my mental health, and I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. The first project that I started to record was with a friend of mine. We tore down his Nintendo Switch with the intent of replacing the USB-C port, which has been done a million times, but I've never done anything like that, and neither has he. So we tried to document the process and pretty much just recorded ourselves ruining his device. But while we were doing that, we got to test out my new setup, which I'll show you in a couple upcoming videos. If you watched my short on the Formula 1 spoiler or my robot vacuum rebuild, then you've seen a little bit of that workspace. But while I was recording the Nintendo Switch teardown and the robot vacuum video in particular, I had a hard time with the camera position of things on top of the bench. Things that I wanted to show up close. It was difficult to work around all of the different tripods that I had set up. So I have two lighting tripods with a variable light stick that I can move, but they don't necessarily need to be on the floor. They need to be attached to the bench. And I have one with the camera that I also would rather be attached to the bench than have all these tripod legs on the floor. So that's, 3 legs per tripod, 3 tripods minimum. That's a lot of legs. So what I have, I think it's called a magic arm. I'm not really sure. It's just a really rigid camera mount that I use with an old cell phone because it records in 4K, and as long as the lighting is good in there, you never can tell. It's better than this camera right here that I'm using. But anyway, it interfaces with a tripod with a very common connector, right? I don't know the names of these things. I should probably learn the names of these things. But it has a flat spot on it for a set screw. And when that goes down into a receiver, you tighten it up, that thing ain't going anywhere. So what I had been doing is screwing into this 1/4-20 camera mount, and it's pulling the thread out of my tripod. It's ruining my tripod with a huge lever arm to get to the center of the table. So the intent with this project is to quickly come up with some sort of design that will grab this mount right here and allow me to position that camera anywhere that I want to, but it's not going to be on the floor. And if I do this right, it will work for the lights that I have as well. So with the bench that I have, basically we'll jump right over here into SolidWorks, and oops. It's been a minute since I streamed. I don't really know what I'm doing in the first place, but I certainly don't know what I'm doing with streaming. So, another thing that happened at the last Robot Combat event, my computer decided to just take a whole big old crap on me, and it dumped all my apps, and luckily it didn't remove any of my files, but I had to reinstall Windows, which was not the end of the world, but it wasn't something I was expecting to do. So a bunch of my configurations and things are gone that I didn't back up, but my files are all in the cloud. So anyway, my bench, back to my bench, the entire perimeter is a vertical 2x4, and as we know, those are actually 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And that is, it's got on top of it a sheet of plywood, which I believe is 1/2 inch. Let me go measure that real quick, but we'll just leave it at 1/2 inch and adjust it later. And then on top of that plywood is another little sheet of plastic that I know is 0.177. But the idea that I had was basically, if I just draw it out real quick, nice and dirty, if I can hook under that 2x4 and then have that little hourglass cylinder, that little piece of metal drop into a slot like this on that device, then as it applies a torque, it will pull on the foot right here and apply pressure to the top of the table, and it won't necessarily try to be ripping the 3D print apart if we print it laying down. So if we printed it vertically, then obviously you have a bunch of layer lines going like this, and any type of torque around those layer lines is going to separate them. But what we want to do is print it flat the way that we're drawing it, so that each layer is continuous. It'll make a little bit more sense as we get into it. But we have our 2x4 there. I think a good offset so that it was easy to move. Bust out our calipers. We're going to just eyeball a bunch of this because that's the way I roll. This can be a pretty loose fit. We'll go with 050. And we'll make that foot stick up. Let's go 5/8 of an inch. We'll make the thickness of the foot. I had half an inch in my mind for some reason, but I think we'll go 3/8. The thickness of this component, let's do 3/8 on it as well. And this is where it starts to get a little bit unconventional. So we'll go a thickness of 3/8 right here. But since we deleted that vertical constraint, we can, off this line, we can angle it out. So if I measure this little chingus here, looks like I need a 5/8 hole for it to drop into. That is at least 1.2 deep. So we'll go 1.25 inches just to be safe. So if we draw that, that looks like we'll make that a construction entity as well. And the first joint of that should be level with the top of whatever this bracket is. So then we could start to build around that. We'll want to come up. We'll want to come across, which we don't want that to be level with that. Actually, we do. So we don't want those two to be congruent because that's going to need to be higher. This is going to have some thickness to it. So that's our thickness right there. Where's those points? Let's say this is let's just go 1 inch. I don't really think it needs to be that long. And then let's draw a construction line between these 2 points. We'll grab the midpoint of that and the midpoint of this and make them vertical. So that'll keep a consistent wall thickness all the way around our little post there, which will make 1/4 inch. This will be congruent with the top of that. Oops, too many. And we need to make that a construction line. We'll make the distance from here. And now we just need the thickness of the top of the table. Give me 1 second. I'll go measure that. dude. Okay. Like I said, I haven't been doing this for a while. Forgot to turn my mic back on. So basically, I just was looking at the thickness of the table was 0.65, so I added 0.05 to that, and that's how we got that distance. And then I looked at the bracket as a whole and figured what parts of it looked weak and made those changes. But let's look at the device. We're gonna go, it's an inch wide, so our bracket, let's go an inch and a half. We'll go from the mid plane here, and then we're going to, you know what, if we make this not, let's show this sketch. Let us do an extruded cut on this, and we know that to be, what did I say, 0.5 inches, 0.65 inches. Then again, that is this little component. We're trying to drop it down into that hole. 625 seems reasonable. And the depth on that dude will be, we'll just go ahead and tie it to up to vertex, the bottom of that. So if we change actually, let's go here. Let's change this so that if we go to modify this sketch, our hole will update in its parameters. Now, I don't think it's strictly necessary to have the bolt, and I may not have one, so, but we should add the hole. We could add the hole in a couple different places in a couple different ways. Before we do that, no, let's add the hole. What are you supposed to do? You add all your features first, and then you can add the pretty. I like to put fillets on things right away, but that's not correct, because then when you're doing dimensions later, it makes it difficult, because you might end up dimensioning from a filleted edge, and if you change the radius of that fillet, then your dimension changes as well. So the flat side of this shape is not the full depth, and I'm going to try to measure to like roughly the center point. I don't think it matters a whole bunch. .44. Let's just go 0.5. And then I know that's a 1/4-20. I forgot what the tap is for a 1/4-20. Let's try this. .201. 0.201. We'll go all the way through on that, because and actually, yeah, why did I go all the way through? Because I could add the, if I build a thumb screw or something, I could add it directly to the or I could add it to whatever side of this makes sense, and then I want to add one on the outside as well. So we will grab the center point of this dude right here, make us horizontally congruent. We'll add 0.201 to that guy, and then this one we want to go up to the vertex of the first hole, and that way it doesn't come through the back, because there's no way we're getting a thread on the back of that. Okay, so that's the basic bracket. Let's make it pretty. Let's save it first. Oof, I need to get in that habit. So, where can I save it to? How you guys doing? Anybody watching this? Are you watching this later? Are you wondering what I'm doing? I'm also wondering what I'm doing. Okay, it is saved. We're gonna go ahead and fill it. This one I know I want to make different than all the rest, so let's go up to 2 inches on that dude. And then I think we're gonna go, let's try 3/8 on these. And oop, that's way too much for that one. That seems reasonable. That'll work for that. And then I think the rest are gonna be 1/8 fillets. Looks okay to me, if you ask myself. Let's stitch this one. I want that to be 1/4 inch. And with that, we've got a pretty good looking bracket here. What else can we do to this? When you're gonna print something on the side, you never want to start with a fillet, but you can start with a chamfer. And if we turn off those edges, it looks all right. Not the prettiest thing I've ever designed, but it doesn't have to be. It needs to be quick. So that gives us a place to drop that into the lights that I have mount with a screw. So let's go ahead and do something. This is going to be a little bit of guesswork, but I know that a 1/4 fits the lights. Hang on. The lights mount over a post. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to print an insert for this component. But that should do it. I guess we'll go slice it up. It ain't beautiful, but it should work. Save it. Alt FA. We're gonna save it as a 3MF. And I got bamboo slicer open already. Let's see if I can switch that over. There's bamboo. There she is. And we will grab our camera mount part. It's already laying on the side there. The strength is going to be in the walls on this one. So we're gonna look at, but it doesn't need to be pretty. So we'll go with a pretty high layer count. And we're gonna go with a lot of walls. 6 maybe. The top is fine. Top shell at 6. Bottom shell at 6. Internal solid fill pattern. Oh, that's not the same thing. We'll go gyroid. I don't know. People say it's nice and strong. Doesn't seem to matter much to me. We'll go 20% on that. Oh, you know what we should do? Concentric. That would be pretty. And speed, we're going to leave all that alone. No need support. Because it's a circle, I believe that it will bridge itself enough. And let's take a look at it. Yeah, it looks pretty strong. Now what material do we use? Let me check my machine, see what material is loaded. If I have nylon in the machine, I'll use the nylon PET G. Reslice it. What are we looking at? 3 hours almost. I need to load the nylon, but we'll send it anyway. And it's sent. So that's about it. Quick one. I wanted to design a bracket, like I said, to hold this camera arm on the edge of my workbench. And the next time I hop on here, I will give it a review. We'll do a little bit of a video reveal to see if it fit the table, if it fit the arm, and then if it works well with the setup. So I appreciate it. How long have we been at this for? How long have we been streaming for? 26 minutes. Not too bad. Wait, I have no idea. That's not true. But we'll give it a try, and if it doesn't work out, we'll come back with a revision. Like I said, rejuvenated this year. A lot of stuff went down with my eyes. I put a TikTok video up, but I might explain it a little bit better here eventually. I still have that Formula 1 spoiler. That project's actually just close to finish. I need to make the steering wheel control button, and then I can mail it off, but he said don't worry about it too much, that they're having problems with the car. So I have a little bit of time on that. And I'm just really investing in my infrastructure so that I can get back to designing things and enjoying life again. And this is a big part of it. So I appreciate you stopping by. I hope that you enjoyed what you saw, that you learned something. And if you have any feedback about this project or what I should be working on next, please let me know. And